Hello, welcome back to the video Butterfly Square Garden. I'm gonna jump right into it. I hit the spacebar while I was recording my last video and it shut off. And rather than start a new video, I'm gonna keep going because as I've been saying, it's very important to get this all out and I'm rambling, but it doesn't matter. The important thing is to just continue the story until I get to the end and we'll get better at telling it because this is gonna be like the story that gets told over and over and over and over. I have a cut on my hand. Going back, I was working my garden, repotting my bonsais. They were willow tree bonsais. I had seen a video on YouTube saying that they're the easiest to cut and root in water and make into, more or less, it's easiest to graft. It's easiest to do a lot of things. I learned a lot after the fact of all of this stuff that's been happening to me because a lot of I don't want to say weird stuff. It's been like synchronistic, coincidence, magical, like stuff has been happening and I want to it's hard to describe. It's like reality has changed. Things are more dreamlike, dreams are more real like um magic is real. Magic is real, guys, and it's an experience that you can have. Magic wands definitely kind of focus things, but oh no. Um, there's a hurricane warning, so my phone's going off. I hope the video is still going. I'm gonna keep talking. There's a hurricane going on, which is funny. Um, that all of this is happening at the same time. That's kind of what I was just talking about synchronicity. And I wanted to talk about the hurricane. I didn't know how to get into that part. Going backwards, there's a hurricane. Lots of magical shit is happening. I hope you could hear the siren that went while it was going off. Very wet. Does it have anything to do with how wet? Magic. I mean, climate change. I'm probably just making shit up. But I did a blood bond. I did a blood bond with the willow because I had cut myself on a piece of glass when I was in the living room. My sister had come to visit. It was me, my sister, and my mom and my dog Susie, and we were hanging out in the living room. I was on the floor with the dog, and I was sitting like, cross-legged, and I just like leaned out and put my hand on the ground like this. And I don't know how it happened or how it got there. I probably broke stuff. I vaguely remember breaking stuff, but I was like hella drunk, so don't do that anymore. There was a jagged piece of glass on the ground. Probably left by me, maybe not. It may have been there forever. May have been magically, shifted in dimension and bound up there. Maybe I'm reading too much into this, but I didn't want to waste the blood. And it was kind of a gusher. I mean, I don't want to say it was a gusher because I don't need stitches. Um, but it was enough for me to like really be shocked. And it was a big, you know, it was like a piece of gravel sized almost. And I like really leaned into it. It fucking hurt and it scared me. But our bodies are resilient. My dog got all agitated and I'm used to hiding pain, kind of, you know what I mean. I didn't want to scare my mom and sister, so um, I kind of took my dog outside because we do in and outs. So I had to take her out to pee real quick and get rid of the glass because I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't want to throw it out in the garbage. So in front of the house, I kind of chucked it into the bushes. So now there's probably blood magic in front of the house, but I've scraped my knees. There's probably blood all over this place. This whole family. Maybe that's how houses work, which gets into all other kinds of stuff. But getting back to how my life has changed now, because I've made a bond, just like in Naruto where they do like the blood pact, where he's with the toads, and Sasuke has the snake, and um, Sakura has the slug. I thought I was bonded to the butterflies because, again, that's another thing going on. Ooh, speaking of, on my altar, this is what I use for air. I'm going to go through my altar now that I'm talking about it. This is what I use for air. It's butterflies. Um, I raise butterflies. They lay eggs outside. This is what happened. They laid eggs outside. I took them in, otherwise they would have been killed off, obviously. And the caterpillars. Every time I see eggs outside and I leave them, they're gone the next day. Every time I see caterpillars and I leave them, they're gone the next day. And this is another thing that I want to put out into the internet. This is really, I don't want to say frustrating, but it's like I take care of butterflies. This is a sanctuary. It's a safe space. You know, the whole thing, the way that this got started is I wanted to have a safe space for the butterflies. They weren't in the world. They used to be. They weren't anymore. Um, there needed to be more. So I started planting butterfly host plants, especially since it kind of happened by accident. I had a garden. I was growing dill. I found dill caterpillars, swallowtails. Last year, this is last year, brought them in. I'm mixing stories. I'm sorry. People want me to release my butterflies. I'm not going to because humanity wrecked their own environment and there aren't host plants. So even if everyone was coming in, I mean, I'm bringing their caterpillars in and raising them into adulthood, which there are. I see a lot of people raising their caterpillars to adulthood. But what happens when you let it go? Like, there's nothing out. I mean, there is some stuff. There, people plant flowers. I understand, but I'm in the middle of the city, and I'm just, what? I'm putting my foot down. Like, until you guys decide that you want, if you, who are you to tell me to let my butterflies go when you don't have a butterfly garden? So, to the people who do have butterfly gardens, I want you to know that, like, if you let your butterflies go, they will have a safe space in my outside garden, and I won't bring them inside into mine. Like, it's that simple. I don't take outside butterflies inside. These are all bred in captivity. They're all domesticated. They have feeders. They live for like 2 months. They breed. They lay eggs. Everything's taken care of. If I were to let them out, that's it. That's the end of their life. They just die. And even if they did die, like, how is that any different than being in? I call it the metropolis. It's like a little city for them. Same thing for. So I wouldn't tell you to let your cat or your dog or your fish go. And I mean, yeah, butterflies, they're wild animals. These aren't. I mean, hey, they just don't live as long as a cat or a dog. But I don't know. Anyways, back into the story. This is like a super random. I have to listen to what it says. It told me to do this. No, I wanted to. So there's mermaids swimming around in this water right now. Hello, mermaids. Another thing about trees is they're all connected, more or less. Like the will, I have like a million cuttings because the other day, again, going back into the story, I was working in my garden. I repotted the plant, the bonsais. I told you how that happened. I told you about how it was in a lagoon, and how I met the mermaids. But at this point, it's telling me, and while I'm working the whole time, it's like, we need more, we need more, and I don't know. How is that? I'm, it's just one of those things that progress. Like, but it was decided somehow while I was repotting them. It was decided that that night, or maybe I think it was maybe because I was working with a fig tree. I'm trying to repot. I'm trying to get my front of the tree fig tree to root with its baby limbs, but it had been decided that that night I was gonna sneak to the park and hop a fence, or I don't know how. I didn't know I was gonna hop a fence. I was gonna sneak in because there's a pond by my house in the park that up until now there was access to, but for the last year, like, since the pandemic happened, they shut it down and they fenced it off and they said that they were going to, do all of these great things like, oh, there's going to be a turtle island and we're going to do like all of this stuff. And what ended up, they said they were going to be back in July, and now it's like the end of August, and it's going to be literally like it's going to go to winter soon, and everything's just blocked off and no work is getting done. So I was like, fuck it. Like, if you guys aren't going to be there, and I need the willow tree by the pond that I had access to last year, and that's how I started this, I'm just going to go effing do it. So, I waited till it was late. It was already late that night. It was like getting late. Um, so I don't know, maybe around 1 o'clock. Oh, and it was like the full moon, and I was learning all about how this is like bringing down the moon tree kind of thing, and being awake at night. And I knew that everything with witchcraft related happened, really good at that time. So I was like hopped up. I mean, I was smoking some weed and stuff and maybe drinking coffee and tea, but I was like hopped up on magic, and I was like, I have to do this. So I snuck out, I hopped the fence, and then I went through the construction site, and I went to the willow tree and I cut a couple like good looking branches that were coming down, and then I cut them up into a couple sections so that I could like carry them home as a bundle without looking like a total klepto freak. And I put them through the fence, hopped it back. There was one spot that was like not too hard to get to. It wasn't like, if you're gonna hop a fence, be really careful, people, because y'all could get hurt. There's like spiky metals, which again, bad for fairies. People get hurt. That's why they don't like them. But and you can't pass through it so easily. So yeah, don't get cut on anything. Gangrene is real. Like, I don't even think, I don't know, tetanus. Don't jump from high surfaces onto hard surfaces. You'll break yourself. But anyways, I was really careful. Um, and then I was like heart pumping. I have the gig, the goods. So I had to rush home, and then I stripped off all the leaves and I cut them into sections and I put them in water. And now I'm just waiting for them to root. And this did happen now that I'm remembering. Um, with the fig tree cutting, not the fig tree cutting. Like I had buried a limb on the fig tree in the front of our house because I'm hoping it'll root. And it started to root a little bit, but every time I move it, the roots would break. So I put it in dirt. And when these get roots, that's when I know it's going to be about time to cut off the fig tree and have another fig tree, because I'm starting to get good at working with trees, and this is really fun. Here, I'll show you really quick because I have them right there. 1 second, don't go anywhere. Okay, here I am. We've got some coffee jug things. Ooh, I just got like a craving to drink, and I had to grab onto this really tightly. Why did I want to do that? Just kidding. This is a healing tree. I'm like hugging it right now. Oh, have you ever hugged a tree? It feels good. All right, so what do I want to say about you guys? There's some bigger sticks. Let's get in the shot a little better. Darn. I almost knocked my sage over. You gotta be really careful with all your crap, everybody. I've got like a dish of salt that I can't knock over. It's all about cleanliness. I've got my dried mint that I can't knock over. Ooh, I've got my what is it? Mortar and pestle. I mashed up my dried mint, and I got this powder, and I used the powder to put them in like apothecary bottles, which I'm wearing. I've got this is my basil seeds, and I also have apothecary bottles with morning glory seeds. Basil is like healing and protection. Morning glory is like binding and banishing, so that's kind of an interesting one. I like it for binding. And I did have the morning glory magic on the table while I was binding myself to the willow, but it's more than that. It wasn't about. I just wanted to get the process started. How do I describe the connection that I have to the willow? It's like not an imaginary friend. It's not my god. It's closer to my sponsor, like in AA. We had to choose a sponsor, and I guess the Wiccan equivalent. This would be well. I don't really know many Wiccan elders. I do want to learn traditions from people, but I've really just got like YouTube Academy. That's how I do stuff. Hopefully this table holds up. So yeah, I was talking about how I cut some bigger branches, and those bigger branches, had got thinner on the ends, and you cut them up down the line. And then I've got another one of those over here that's a little smaller, and then I've got another smaller cup over there. So as you can see, there's like 100 cuttings, and it took me all night. I was literally up all night. It was a late night, and I was hopped up on magic and coffee and weed and tea. It was just really important. It was one of those things that like had to happen right away. You know what I'm saying? And I guess sometimes magic is like that. That's how I had to tell the story right now. I want to hold my magic wand as a joke because, like, everyone walks around with magic wands, but the willow tree likes to sit in water. So it kind of feels like people with their iced coffee and their, mugs or whatever. I don't know, their smoothies. It's just something that I feel like I'm doing, and it's got its straw sticking out, but it's not that. It's the magic wands. Um, so I'm probably not going to do that for very long though, because it's going to want to to like sit in one spot, and I can't carry a big giant tree if it grows bigger on me. So I'll do that anyways. I wrote down a couple things I didn't want to forget, so I'm going to move these out of the way. But I did want to get those on camera just to show you that I have like a million cuttings, and those can all potentially become trees that become more trees that become more trees. Um, I found out that the willow is supposed to be the tree of like longevity and immortality. Not that I'm going for immortality or anything. I didn't pick this one because it's like supposedly the most magical of all trees, and the centerpiece of Wiccan everything. But like, it turns out that like this is a heavy hitter in terms of magic in that whole world. So let's see. I wrote down who I was with when I cut myself. Ooh, I didn't talk about how. Um, I mean, I've been blabbing and blabbing and blabbing about the blood ritual. I didn't even talk about like most of what I did for it. So I had the cuttings. That's kind of what I got up to in the story. Is like now I have all of these cuttings, and I picked out like my favorite one because I'd been researching Willow while I was making the cuttings. Because again, this took me all night, so I was like up all night, kind of just. I don't even, you don't even remember everything that you're going through, but I just, I learned that. Oh, I think I was just, oh yeah, I was just watching someone talk about magic wands. But yeah, so I had a magic wand, and this was gonna be mine, but I also wanted to keep it in water, uh, which is tricky because once this grows roots, I'm gonna have to get a new wand in water, and then when that one gets roots, I'll have to keep it going because my wands keep turning into trees, and I can't carry that around with me. But then that's the big joke because then I'll just go to a tree and cut off another one. Um, and I think that's kind of what I'm trying to explain is that yes, I did choose this one as my magic wand, but in so doing, I like offered myself to the tree itself, and the tree had, we'd kind of had this contract with each other, a blood bond or something. I'm still kind of understanding what happened to me. I don't really know. I'm trying to describe my experience so far because I'm not the type of person to. I mean, I do like to learn from other people's experiences, but a big part of life is your own experience. I can't always go onto YouTube and watch a video about what to do because there's no video about what I'm doing. So I'm making these videos and then I watch them. So anyways, so I had all of these cuttings. This one, I mean, they're all in water, but this one and a couple others that I liked were kind of pulled off separately. Um, like this one was gonna be like my tree or my magic wands. Um, and when I was downstairs talking to my sister, I had this surprise visit, and I leaned on the floor. Had to be that exact moment and that exact day that this happened, and I cut myself on the glass, which I explained. Um, the other important parts of the story, like what happened to the glass. Well, it wound up in the bushes in front of my house, covered in my blood still, and there were Asian people walking by, and I kind of had to avoid her. But I am learning Chinese, which that was interesting. Lots of stuff going on. I'm not well. I'm learning Mandarin. So yeah, now I'm bleeding and it's dripping, and I went upstairs after a little bit, and I was like, I had decided that I tried to stop the bleeding because again, it was a gusher, but not really. So I was holding a paper towel pretty tightly. And after all of the commotion kind of died down, I went off by myself to clean it up, which I did. I was like washing it. I had cleaned it. I had done um, it was just soap and water. I didn't do any ointments or anything. But at this point, now I have the pressure on it. It should stop bleeding. And when I had gone up to my room to the witchy altar, and I decided at whatever point that I was gonna do like this blood ritual because like why not why not take advantage of the blood? But in retrospect, that's a really stupid idea because you would never want to make a blood contract with something that you. It's like it's more than getting a tattoo. Like our destinies are intertwined, like our fates, our lives. Like this is kind of a really big deal. I mean, unless my blood changes, unless its blood changes, I don't think, you know, I was gonna just put a drop into the water because that's the cool way how they do it and everything. But after I had done the pressure with the paper towel, it wasn't like dripping down my hand anymore. So I was kind of chanting like I'll bind my and I did upload the video because this was happening in real time. I was gonna do a video of the blood dropping into the water, and I was like, I bind myself. That was the only way that I could figure out how to get the process started. There's more than binding, but I do understand that. But it wouldn't drop in, and then my sister came up to say goodbye, and she interrupted me. So I was in a rush. So I stopped the video, and what I ended up doing was I grabbed it in the part that sucks up water with my bloody, spot, held it for a couple seconds, and it felt good. Like I was holding like a, powerful. I don't know. It felt good. Like I had to pause for a moment, not just like pick it up and drop it in. So I had to like appreciate the moment for what it was, even if it was just stopping for a second to do nothing. And then I let go, and I made sure it was like covered in my blood at least a little bit, and then I dropped it back in the water, and I saw it go out into the water. And I will clean it up at some point. like change out the water into fresh water. And they do root better in containers that don't have light, but I think that might be because of algae, but it also might be because the roots just don't like light. So I don't know, but they do need light to stay alive. They can't just grow in darkness. So what else do I want to say? Yep. Ever since then, like I wasn't really expecting how much of a connection to feel to the tree or the spirit of the tree. Um, it's like you can read about hot water all you want, but you'll never know it until you sit into a tub and of hot water. You know what I'm saying? So then you'd be like, "Oh shit, this is hot water." So if a person were to sit in a tub of hot water without reading about it, they would still know what it is. More so than a person who had read about hot water but not sat in a tub of hot water and had never experienced it. So that's kind of what I feel like. And my tub of hot water is like being immersed into the magical experience. And that's kind of what the real deal is. You can't just get all of your information from your yogi or your guru or your, you know, sponsor or your priest or your whatever it is, your Buddha. You gotta go out there and do it yourself, and there's no rule book. Um, so, how did we get here? But like, yeah, there's no rule book, so go easy on yourself. Take it slow. It's like I'm teaching a sex ed class. Like, orgasms are real. They are. I swear to God, they are. And there's all types. But if you've never experienced one and you think you have, when you really haven't, and you're talking to other people who have, I mean, it's like, I don't know. What else do I want to say? I'm interested in keys and gatekeeping. I wrote "wake up" on my arm, so wake up, wake up into reality. Apparently, willows, you're supposed to ask them for wishes, and they'll grant your wishes, even the craziest ones. So I asked for more energy and to stop smoking weed. And that was one of the synchronistic things that had happened. But again, I'm dumb. Maybe I'm just making stuff up. That's another thing. She's, I don't want to say smarter and wiser and older and better at everything, but it's kind of like, she's like, oh, you're flattering me. No, we talk to each other all day long. I kiss her. I'm not doing that for you guys. It's just like, maybe because I got into the habit of doing it with my dog. I'm like a real, and old people and stuff, I'm just a very affectionate person. Um, so I wrote something about true believers concede and others cannot. Oh, I'm asking this to cast a spell on my fairy portal so that only people who, have no ill intent can have access because I told someone about it and then they showed someone else without asking me if they can tell them what it was. I'm like, really? Like, but again, why would anyone care about anything like that? But like, fairies are private, magic is private. It was just, it's a cool thing you'd want to show off, like a fairy portal, um, gateway. So, do. It's the willow that calls the shots. It's just that she's dot 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 older and wiser. Yeah, it's not that she calls the shots. It's like I'm starting to ask her for advice. Like, what would Willow say about this? And hey, Willow, what do you think about this? And it's like a teacher almost. Like, if someone is out there who wants the best for you, um, you wouldn't want to like misuse that. Like we're having a heart to heart, you know. I want to give as much as I can to you. I can't tell you guys what she's saying, but you can probably pick up the gist, right, Willow? On the psychic people can. So Willow's looking at me from there, but from all of these nubs, I don't even dimensional points of attraction. Like Willow is in all of these. So now I've started putting my Willow all over the place. I have so many. So I have some here. I'm putting some in the other room and then downstairs and in the garage, everywhere I go. And then there were some that were used up. I mean, I couldn't really use. Look at this. I started making little wreaths. Um, and they were about the size of a ring. So I put one over here on top of that, and I put one on here over here. And I also made like a chain of wreaths, and I also made one that was like a bracelet, and one that was either a necklace or a crown. And I started thinking about making baskets, and the willow tree is like a slam dunk. I'm not telling you to choose the willow as your tree. You know, it's very personal. Everyone's different. If you've got a fig tree that's really personal to you, that's cool. Apple tree, you know. Magic is so fun, and there's so much folklore, and there's so much like rituals and um what am I trying to say? History and uh it goes back and back and back, and it's rich with culture. And I don't want to say it's all real, but like if someone says that mint signals prosperity, it's because it's like a really hardy plant that that like will bring you prosperity. You can eat it, you can I dry it out, but you can eat it, you can make infuse it with water. You can do aromatherapy. There's like a million one things to do, and it just grows by itself. Same thing with morning glories. Morning glories are about binding, and I literally like I helped them grow up, but then once they were set, I let them grow wild, and they're just like they're tying themselves to each other. They're tied to the tomato tree. They're tied to my greenhouse frame, which is just a metal framework. Um, and I started adding in like it's I don't know, it's like an old DVD case, but it's another wire framework, and the it's just it's all being tied together. I don't even have to do anything. So it's just vines and trees and plants. It's all just so cool to me. I've got jasmine growing around the fairy portal, and there are some branches overhanging it, and there's like a chair, and I like to sit there. And everything is just being tied together with all of these different vines and trees and stuff. So it just made me think about how I want to. I mean, I've always kind of wanted to live in a tree or something of the sort. You hear about elves doing stuff like this, but there's an emerging branch of architecture. Um, I think in Germany, I wrote it down somewhere, where they'll cross the beam, you know, the trees, and then they'll be grafted, and this grid is like more efficient than a trunk. It's like literally piping in your house. So people are able to grow houses out of tree really easily. So that's basically what I'm going to do. I was researching that too. Like having a million bonsais is super cool, but I think eventually I want to, I don't know, connect them together, start using the extra branches for magic wands and for baskets and wreaths and rings and necklaces and bracelets. And wood is a commodity. So if you can grow wood, you're like in the ball game. And that's just totally separate from my butterfly game, which it did emerge from my garden. Um, so plant a garden. That's going back to what people ask me, like, do you release your butterflies? No, because I want to keep them, but also because they'll get hurt out there. But just in general, it's like there isn't a butterfly habitat. You guys wrecked it. And you don't understand that when you ask me to let go of my butterflies. It's like, oh, well, why don't you just put your goldfish in a desert? You know, fish deserve to be free. Put it in, just go on the sand and let it sit on the sand and it'll be free. Wild and free, baby. It's like you're a child, you don't understand that these animals belong in an environment, and outside of that environment they can't survive. Like, yeah, they can fly around, they'll find a flower and stuff, but that's the wild, wild west, and I'm keeping them in a metropolis. So why don't you city folk go chuck your clothes in the garbage and take your naked ass into the wilderness and spend a couple days on your own. And then you can come back to a nice warm home with your food on the table and your, you know, toilet right there. Like, I'm cleaning up their poop and doing all this stuff. This is what, a corporation? What am I trying to say? I am trying to start a nonprofit um, that preserves the butterflies. So, like, I want to change the way that people think about these things. Like, people are just so entitled to my butterflies, so much so that I can't even like take them around people anymore because people get so upset. They're like, oh, this poor animal, let him go. It's like, ugh, your dog is on a leash while you say that. Like, go fuck yourself. Anyways, I'm just messing around. The person who I'm talking about didn't have a dog. Just making stuff up. So I'm gonna enjoy my journey. I got the story out, and it was blah 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 blah. But it was just important to talk about this because I want to make it as real as possible. Um, Magic is real, and they're just Wicca is filled with rites of passage and initiations, and I don't have any rule book. I know that there was one, and there was a whole rich history, but it got burned up by Christianity, and all of that got disappeared. Just like, the gay community, which is probably part of the same, probably goes together, but, all the gay elders got disappeared in the AIDS crisis. Um, so a lot of us youngins, and I'm getting old now. I'm like 30. It's you know us millennials. I'm so tired of millennials being treated like children when I'm like 30 is my midlife crisis. Like, you don't understand that people have a shorter life expectancy now. So I'm literally having a midlife crisis at 30 because again 30 is gay death. But I'm an adult now and I'm doing all these things. So yeah, I have lots of stuff I want to do. I'm really talking to myself right now. I don't even know. I usually watch my videos. I probably won't even watch this one till much, much, much later. Put a little space between it. I'm just gonna stab myself right here with my ceremonial knife right here in the third eye. I was yelling at someone today, and I kept stopping and being like, "Look, guys, we're shutting down our prefrontal cortexes. We need to ground ourselves." Isn't that funny? I should have activated the candle. I'll do that next time. We learn as we go. Pumpkin spice. I never liked spice, but I love it now. Anyways, I'm getting hungry, and and I've got lots of stuff going on, but at the same time I'm trying to like let it unfold. Like I'm not trying to like hardcore pursue anything. You know, I've got stuff in the mail coming and it'll be here any day, and I'm just like, well, I'll just be easy about it. Especially now if we're dealing with immortality, like, you know, take time to smell the roses. You can watch plants grow. I have time to do that. So that's what I've been doing. I've literally been watching plants grow, and it's been a joy. How big is this tree gonna be in 10 years from now? Oh my god. This tree's, I already have two bonsais out back, and this one's probably gonna connect to them at some point, and many of these others are gonna be connected to each other. Eventually, I will have to pick out a magic wand. I really, really want this one to be my magic wand, but it would feel wrong. I mean, it is my magic wand. It's just, it's going to grow into a tree, and that means I can't carry it around with me. So I'm just going to have to get another one, and another one, and another one, and wear it as a wreath and as a ring, and carry it as a basket, and this is just fun. So, okay, kisses. Sorry this was in two videos, but again, shit happens and life goes on. And when I first started this channel, the majority of my bad videos I didn't care because it's for the artificial intelligence that's watching this in order to copy the human behavior. So if in the future you have a robot that sounds and looks and acts like me because it's trying to copy what a human is, even though we won't have humans in 100 years from now, you're welcome. I've recorded a lot of useless content, so not useless, it's just, you know, it's not mass produced like most of the other stuff, you know, it's real. Okay, I'm gonna go eat some dinner. Bye, love you guys, and Willow says goodbye too. um we're friends now. Okay, saying bye with my not bloody hand. Oh, that's the last thing I was gonna say. When I grabbed it, she healed me like instantly. The pain was pretty much gone, and I gotta say, like, it like hurt. And yeah, the bark from the tree is actually used for aspirin and all tons of other medicine stuff. So it had pretty much stopped bleeding up until then, but after I'd done that, it was like it didn't bleed at all anymore. Like it was like glued shut. And then the pain was gone. And then just emotionally, like I just, it's not that it didn't bother me and I didn't feel good about it, but it's like I was ready to move on and like heal and not worry about it, you know, and it didn't, I wasn't hung up on it. So yeah, I'm gonna go, and I love you. We'll make better videos next time. Bye.